And finally, the affirmative rebuttal statement, 5 minutes.
All right, so following a framework which our opponents proposed earlier in this round, I'm going to look at first the costs of both manned and unmanned exploration, and then the benefits. The main cost which has been proposed by our opponents is essentially that human missions cost more money. However, this is flawed in two big respects. First of all, because human missions are currently more expensive because they are not miniaturized. So although robots today may be less expensive, as we try to give them more human-like characteristics, the costs steadily rise. According to a graph which was developed by the Atlantic magazine, it was about $0.5 billion with the Pathfinder, reached about $3 billion with a mission in 2011, and finally topped at about $6.5 billion for a mission currently underway for the year 2025. The next flaw with this argument comes to return missions. So our opponents have brought up the cost of robotic missions, but they fail to take into account that these missions rarely return. The returning of a mission is incredibly important because, for one example, Ian Crawford of Birkbeck University explains that the scientific impact of moon rocks gathered gave us the whole chronologically of solar system, which was based on the radiometric dating of these Apollo samples. The top scientific benefit is that it's been able to date areas of the lunar surface. We have this curve that plots crater density versus age, which we can use to get an estimated age of virtually anywhere else in the solar system. So clearly, the samples which are brought back from these missions are absolutely vital to exploration. The second cost which our opponents propose comes down to danger, and I'm going to use this to lead into benefits. Essentially, the way that we combat this danger is by looking for spin-offs benefits when exploring. For example, it's given us the medevac oxygen system, the rescue pod circulatory enhancer, and the currently developing biocapsule, which will be used to combat radiation. So this shows how we combat these dangers and then also use these spin-offs in turns to apply to other different fields. Next, I'm going to examine the benefits of manned and robotic exploration. So we brought up early in the round, and our opponents never addressed, that manned missions have the sole capability to fully take advantage of international cooperation. Although robots can cooperate just in terms of a price tag, or that is to say, countries can cooperate in the sense just paying for a robot, humans can fully collaborate by changing languages for their onlooking audiences to further inspire them there. The next big benefit, and which this debate is primarily centered on, comes down to science. And humans are better in this area in three crucial areas. First of all, humans have the capability to form conclusions. Stephen Hawking explains that essentially the robotic Mars rovers were sent only to look for specific signs of carbon-based life forms. But the fact is that the landers were equipped only to detect signs of Earth-type life. The chemical reactions observed could have been the results of Martian life, but they certainly were not ordinary inorganic chemistry. Stephen Hawking believes that a human biologist or biochemist could have learned a lot more and settled the matter one way or another within a few hours, which demonstrates how important this ability to observe and form conclusions is. Second of all, human missions are more efficient just in terms of the ground they cover. Although robotic missions covered a distance of about 3 miles in 5.5 years, humans covered the same distance in a matter of months. And finally, humans are simply better explorers. Humans are essentially, as I said before, marvels of engineering, and no robot ever devised has been able to mimic our capabilities in terms of vision or dexterity. One example of this is the human eye, which currently has the capability for someone who has 20/20 vision to witness about 30 seconds of arc, which is the equivalent of around 10,000 lines of television. To give you an idea, the average high-definition United States TV has about 525 lines, which is clearly nowhere near the human capability possible. Second of all, humans have a lot more dexterity capability, and this is because humans are, at any given moment, manage to control 244 different mechanical degrees of freedom, which involve more than 600 different body muscles, which no robot ever devised has been able to even mimic. So it's clear that humans are better explorers in these terms, and also in terms of improvisation, which is particularly important, like situations where they had to devise a new fender based off of a map. And next, it comes down to inspiration and looking into the future. It's clear from astronaut applications that people are still very devoted to the science of inspiration. And by using this, we will create a new environment of scientific capability, both through inventions like the biocapsule Julia mentioned, and by looking further into the greater mindset of future potential for humans. So essentially, Robots are tools, and humans should only use them to assist themselves. I myself, on a day-to-day basis, use several tools. Hammers to work on my house, my bike to travel into town, and my phone to communicate. But I would never send any of these inventions to go and explore by themselves, which is why humans should be the main focus of space exploration.